All right, should be live now. Should be able to see charts and hear me all right. We'll be going over the Qs and SPY and preparing for Monday. All right, we got about 14 minutes until the close, so we'll not expecting too much change here in the Qs and SPY, but we'll take a look at them again as we finish up. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for April 8th, 2022. Q's down about 1.2. SPY basically flat on the day. All right, we had a slight gap down here to start things off in the morning, and then SPY was able to hold up towards the top. Q's more towards the bottom. So we do have kind of a variation in patterns. I wouldn't say this is really divergence. You don't have Qs moving lower with the SPY shooting up. But on the smaller time frames here, they are doing different patterns just on the daily here, or on the hourly. The daily, not that different on the SPY and the Q. So just on the smaller time frames, just on the shorter time frames, right, hourly, and especially the 15, that was something I noticed this morning when Qs were really weak. And as a 15-minute buy setup, I thought, well, that actually looks pretty decent. SPY looks higher, but right in the morning there, 15 minutes after the open, you can see what the Qs look like. Qs look like they were going to break to new lows in this trend. So you can see kind of the variations that we have. You can call it divergence. It's not extreme, though. Okay, so I'm not trying to make too big a deal out of this. What I think is significant about it is, as we saw yesterday, Qs showing relative weakness, and the relative weakness in the Qs is not necessarily leading. It's not the Qs that's telling us, okay, what we're going to do next. So I'm leaning a little bit more into the SPY as far as looking at what we should expect for next week, especially going into Monday. And for the SPY here, just really neutral. We're on the other side of the 20 MA here. Could we roll over? We're definitely not bullish yet. Now, we did get what I wanted, which is I wanted to see us come in first at the open. Okay, that would help confirm up over the top there. That would be back to bullish on the SPY. And then that's still the same underneath this double bottom on the SPY, bearish. Okay, Qs is very close to breaking down already. Okay, so Qs is a clearly bearish picture. SPY, however, is a little bit more neutral. Now, it would be easier, I think, to just be bearish and go with the Qs because it's a little bit more clear of a clear pattern. It's just that the last times we've seen Qs kind of try to lead to the downside, it got bought hard, right? There it is on the hourly yesterday, and then last time, very similar picture here to what we have on the hourly. Qs broke below support, and then, we got the charge back up. So if I hadn't kind of noticed these things, I think it would be easier to just say, bearish for Monday, but SPY still showing some indecision. So neutral to bearish going into Monday. We know where the SPY has to get to for us to be bullish. Same goes for the Qs, but the Qs are a lot further away. So that's going to be over 356.35 on the Qs. Okay, that's the plan for the market on Monday. Neutral to bearish unless we take out yesterday's high in the Qs and SPY. All right, let's go over the plays from today. So I'll start off with the BFRI because I thought it was a pretty interesting gap. You can see the void to the left, okay? But if you've been trading with me, especially at the open for the last few weeks, you know that I've been letting all of these, especially the lower price transitioning plays, letting them go. There it is, 1 minute, high-low, that's fine to play over that. What did it do? Break out and then failed and then ran back up to make new highs. So very treacherous stuff at the open, especially on these lower priced and lower volume typically stocks. BFRI, you can see a lot of times does 300, 400,000 shares for a $2, $3 symbol. That's pretty thin. Okay. So, on this kind of stuff, a lot of this stuff, if it looks iffy at all, if I haven't had much experience trading it, I just let it go and do whatever it wants. I'm going to miss some things at the open, of course, but good pass on the BFRI, although I think it was normally a good setup. Just lately, a lot of these things really questionable. Now, LXP was a really good gap down, okay, on the LXP, but this, on the other hand, had no entry and then just went. So BFRI had an entry, but that didn't work. This didn't really have an entry because it didn't really open until this bar here. You can see where the volume kicks in there. So this is actually where it opened. While this is a good entry, I don't think it was really open here, and then it opened late. Happens, especially with a lot of the big gaps. All right, so there it goes. That was good to play, but that's too big of a bar, and so it was a good short, just didn't give us an entry. Okay. So the very first thing, finally, that I gave you was the BCRX. Okay, now, the thing that I gave you was the sell setup, which is what I was hoping we would get. Okay, so I put it out in anticipation that we would get it. At the time, this bar had not broken below the previous bar, and I just needed this bar to finish forming without taking out the previous bar. But unfortunately, it took it out. So then had to adjust, and now it became a breakdown. Okay. Now, why was it important that that bar didn't go below the previous bar? Because a sell setup, we want 2 or more higher low after the drop. So we only got 1 higher low here, and I needed 1 more, and then if we pause, and then lower. So that's technically the pattern. So, just because it didn't work out perfectly doesn't mean you can't play it. It's just now instead I'm just playing it as a 3-bar base instead of a retracement, right? And that's one of those things that it's a little bit up to kind of your personal style. I try to stay as close to textbook trading plan definitions as I can. Someone can look at this and say, well, it retraced just about half of this bar. Isn't that good enough? And that is. And you get a much tighter stop, almost half the size of the stop that I had to use on this base breakdown. Okay. So, but because it didn't quite give me the full sell setup, played it underneath the low, that was fine. Took half right over here. I think it was around 12:30. And then took another quarter as we got another nice drop there, and then held the runner just off the hourly there. So hourly, actually still have it, and I'm going to close it here in a couple minutes, just 2 minutes before the close. I'll get rid of it. So nice hourly all day hold on the BCRX. Really nice gap. And I think that is the standout here on the BCRX. Just really lovely gap, great shock value, breaking support. Almost don't care that much about any of the supports left because this is such a good gap. Okay, so that was the BCRX. So, at the open, I mean, all this stuff that we just went over, the LXP, the BFRI, that's happening in the first, few minutes. So you really have to know what you're watching. Now, there's plenty of other things. You have dozens of things on the gaps list. But you got to know what the favorites and what you're looking for. So on the LXP, looking at this, I know that this isn't the entry that I wanted, the way that it broke down at the open. And then I know that BFRI is a good entry. Okay. BFRI is a good entry. But, these things have been so treacherous at the open that I'm just going to let them go. And if they work without me, fine. And then if they set up again, maybe later I'll play them. But these are the things that you've seen me pass on day in and day out for the last few weeks. And it took a few weeks to even make that adjustment to notice, okay, you know what, these things just can't be played at the open. Okay, so that was today. I didn't think there was a whole lot. Market, we came into today neutral, waiting for more information. Market is coming in here. I said we'd take a look at it again as we approach the close. So you can see the SPY weakening here. Now this isn't going to change too much because going into Monday, the plan is already neutral to bearish. Okay. So, unless we, I don't know, SPY before the close takes out the support and makes it all out bearish, right? There's really not going to be much change. Okay. All right. So I thought it was okay. If you were focused today, I think you did all right. Otherwise, maybe it was kind of a boring day, but not too bad. Okay. All right, that's gonna do it for today's market wrap. Hope you had a nice week. All right, enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday. Have a good evening.